So you're a nuclear waste expert who's lectured at the White House on this topic. You obviously think this is a bad idea. Why?
So for several reasons. One is they basically are going to put the stuff into a thin storage container, which probably will have some problems with corrosion given this ocean environment here. The second idea is they're going to store it such that it'll be about 100 feet from the water and a few inches above the groundwater table, which is totally ridiculous. So what could happen is as the sea level rises, what will happen is the bottom of the containers will corrode.
Dr. English, why do you think Southern California Edison wants to use this dry cask storage method and actually got the backing from the California Coastal Commission to do it?
What happened is our attitude towards storage of spent fuel in a fuel pool changed with Fukushima. We had 2 pools melt down completely, and this scared everybody and caused a big furor and caused them to want to do something better. So it is a very good idea to take the fuel out of the pool and put it into dry storage. It's just that the choices that they made here were awful, far worse than leaving it in the spent fuel pool.
You were also worried about Southern California Edison's San Onofre nuclear waste storage plant being especially vulnerable to terrorism. Tell me about that.
Well, if you leave the spent fuel in the spent fuel pool, you have 2 large concrete structures surrounding the spent fuel pool that will partially protect it against an attack. When you bring it out here in the ocean like this, near the ocean on the beach, what you have is no real protection. So terrorists can find this to be a fairly easy target. And if something were to happen here, we would evacuate about 50 miles worth of people around San Onofre, which would basically shut down the economy of Southern California.
So what are some of the alternatives, some of the options to leaving the waste at San Onofre?
There are 3 main ones. One is to simply move it to another Southern California Edison site like in Arizona. That way you'd be at least away from the beach, and it's already licensed for this sort of thing. Another alternative would be to move it across the street to Camp Pendleton, where it's surrounded by a bunch of Marines, and you wouldn't have any overflights of airplanes, so it'd be much safer there from any kind of terrorist attack. A third alternative would be to go to Yucca Mountain, where we know a lot about the geology of the area, and basically make a part of it into temporary interim storage. And you could take all this waste and store it there for 100 years while they figure out how to solve the long-term problem. So I think 3 of those are much better than what we have here.
If a nuclear waste storage site away from San Onofre is not found, there's the matter of sea level rise. Projections show that this plant could be inundated by water by the turn of the century. What kind of threat does that pose both to human life and to the sea?
Well, if you have these canisters sitting in seawater, it's much the same as dumping the high-level waste into the ocean. And so this has a severe threat on both the aquatic life and human life.
And Dr. English, thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Well, thanks very much. I enjoyed it.